Warning. You've reached On the Box with Ray Comfort and are now in a biblical truth zone. Place all questions about theology, current events, and evangelism on the box, where they'll be weighed against the truth of God's Word. Ready your hearts and minds. You're about to be inspired and equipped to fulfill the Great Commission. Programming to engage in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
There is no doubt that some of you went to Ustream yesterday, maybe YouTube, and saw that there was no On the Box video, and you rejoiced. You thought you were rid of us. But no, we're back. The Arab, the Jew, and the April Fool's prankster who looks a lot like Abraham Lincoln.
Who's that?
Me? Come on.
Oh, so that's what that was on your desk.
One time when my kids were little, I said, who does this look like? I showed them a picture. They said, Mark Spence.
Yeah. No, Mark Spence looks like Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln doesn't look like Mark.
Oh, boy. By the way, friend.
Give me a close-up.
Look. Does it look like Mark? It looks like Mark.
Yeah, at a distance at night.
Yeah. Anyway, April Fools. Anyway, friends, listen. For those of you that think my wife is having a sixth child, that was Mark's April Fool jokes. He actually put it on my Facebook page.
How does he have access?
It's not. He just posts it, and they shouldn't allow that. I should have to approve the post.
Yeah,
you
can. Yeah.
What?
You can?
You can.
Oh, boy.
Yes.
I got to learn how to use that thing. Friends,
called
it's great to have you back.
Spencerism.
Yeah.
Like sensorism?
Yeah, Spencelationisms. There he is, Abraham Lincoln. Friends, it's good to have you back with us, and it is good to be back. There was a bit of miscommunication yesterday.
Do we look like we got a tan? Is it just us?
We do look like we got a tan.
Hawaii was
look
great.
like lobsters, actually.
Hawaii was great.
But there was a bit of a miscommunication around here yesterday, so that's why we didn't end up doing the show. We won't get into the details there. But let me say before we jump into our subject that I'm quite shocked today, Ray. Julia, my oldest, is today exactly the age that I was when I got saved. I was a day short of a month before I turned 16.
Wow.
And that's exactly how how old Julia is today. And I thought about that, the grace of God, seeing how far along she is in the Lord compared to where I was the day I got saved. Her love for the Word, her writing of poetry about the Lord, her desire to be a missionary in Africa.
That's beautiful.
And I thought how kind God is, not just to save me, but now give me the opportunity to see my daughter at my age when I got saved and how far along she is in the Lord.
Wow. Well,
Isn't that
that's
awesome?
nothing,
And
mate.
your granddaughter.
I was saved at 22 and make much more than 16.
Oh, boy.
That is
So
really something.
it is a joy, and I'm excited about that. All right, we're going to jump right into the topic because, in part, we've gotten complaints from some of our dear friends saying, get to the point. So we're going to try to do that and see if
What
we're
do
going
they
to
mean
please
by
you.
that?
I have no idea.
What
Let's
does
talk
the
a
word
little bit
point mean?
Let's
The
talk about
original
that for a little bit.
Latin word point.
So we're going to jump right into the topic of the day. Here we go. Creationist offers $10,000 to anyone willing to challenge literal interpretation of Genesis account. This is from Yahoo News, and it reads, a California man who believes the literal interpretation of the Bible is real is offering $10,000 to anyone who can successfully debunk claims made in the book of Genesis in front of a judge. And for a man wanting to debate the very nature of human existence, Joseph Mastrapalo is taking a decidedly happy-go-lucky approach, saying he hopes the contest will improve future discussions on both sides of the argument.
You
So, Ray,
just have to be rich to get into the argument.
right, $10,000. So, Ray, what do you think of this? I mean, is our good friend Joseph, has he lost his mind?
No, I think, no, he's found it. I mean, seriously, he could put up $100,000. Genesis cannot be refuted scientifically. We see both in the fossil record and the existing creation, observable evidence that Genesis is true. Every animal brings forth after its own kind.
Right.
We can see that. It's observable.
Well, Ray, what about the fossil record?
What about the fossil record?
You tell me.
The fossil record, look, you cannot observe the fossil record without faith. You've got to believe what they say about dating processes. I don't believe what they say. They keep changing
What about
the dates.
carbon-14 dating?
That's not trustworthy. Time magazine said you cannot trust those dating processes.
Right.
So I don't, and even if you trust them, you're exercising faith. It's not observable. Evolution's not observable. You cannot. I've asked dozens, scores, I think even hundreds of people in recent months, give me some observable evidence that evolution, Darwinian evolution is true. I don't want to exercise faith. And they go, oh, and they can't do it. But as I said, creationism is observable. 1.4 million different kinds of fish, birds, insects, and animals each have male and female except for a few lowlifes. And every
No
animal...
offense, lowlifes.
Yeah, sorry, guys. Yes. And I got in trouble the other day when I said that. But I just mean those little grubs in that split up.
You're not talking about relatives.
No,
Okay,
no,
got it.
no. And every animal brings forth after its own kind. 1.4 million once again.
Right.
Giraffes have giraffes, horses have... And so both in the fossil record that we have in the existing creation, we could observe what Genesis says. But when it comes to evolution, you cannot observe it. The whole thing rests on blind faith. Dawkins says that. He says if you don't believe in evolution, you're insane.
Right.
So it's a belief. I got a guy the other day, I started off an interview. Do you believe in evolution? Yes. Are you a strong believer in evolution? Yes. When did you start to believe? When I started thinking. Is it a belief? No. I said, you said 3 times you believed it. You know, and
That's awesome.
all it is a belief.
I remember in one of our episodes, I'm trying to remember which one it was, but you were showing how people constantly refer back to belief or I think or about or around.
Perhaps, maybe. Yeah,
maybe.
maybe,
Right.
possibly.
It's
Could have.
unreal.
It's the language of speculation that evolutionists are forced to use. If you believe in evolution, you've got to say probably, maybe, could have, perhaps. And anything you say about evolution, because nothing is sure.
Right.
100 years from now, we're going to look back and what evolutionists believe is true, and they're going to laugh.
Right.
And one of the big things that evolutionists say, you're a creation, you believe the Bible, you believe in talking snakes. Well, you believe you're a talking primate.
Or that everything came from a rock.
Everything
basically.
came from a rock.
Yeah, well,
Absolutely.
it's really going to be interesting to see what happens with this. But I want to get Mark's thoughts on it. Mark, what do you think? Is this guy lost his mind, or you think?
Boy, I think it's a great move. I think it's a brave move, and I think it's one that can garner a lot of viewership for people that are going to want to tune in. I wouldn't be
Right.
surprised if it ends up on primetime somewhere because people are interested in this very thing. You know, it's surprising to see how many people take what their teacher, what their parent, what somebody says, lock, stock, and barrel without doing any research themselves. You know, he had made this comment. He said, they, referring to evolutionists, are not stupid people. They are bright. But they're bright enough to know there is no scientific evidence they can give in a mini trial. So I would be very interested to see what will come of this. And I'm like you, I'm left scratching my head, as are evolutionists, I presume, towards us who believe in intelligent design.
Right.
Why do you believe what you believe? We're both left scratching our head. We have the same evidence, yet we come to different conclusions.
Right.
Why is this? It's based upon our presupposition. Now, here's the thing. A lot of university students presuppose that whatever their university professor tells them is correct. They wouldn't be inside their position if they weren't correct. They would get fired if they weren't correct. But as I looked through a lot of these interviews that Ray is giving, these street interviews one-on-one at Cerritos College and at Long Beach and down in Huntington Beach, you see a lot of these people start off as being strong believers in evolution. And by the end of the conversation, with just simple logic and reasoning, they're left scratching their head saying, maybe I need to look into this a little bit more. And that's what we hope you do if you're watching this and you have cut and pasted a lot of things that Richard Dawkins and others have said. Examine to see what the other side has said as well, because it's very intelligent design.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
seriously, I got to contest this. He says evolutionists are not stupid people. I think you've got to be stupid to follow Richard Dawkins, who seriously believes we're cousins of turnips and bananas. That's what he said. And I mean, my whole banana thing was a joke, but he's not joking.
Right. That's,
mine
yeah.
was tongue in cheek. He's
Right.
not. He's deadly serious. We're cousins of bananas. We're spinning through space on this big hunk of dirt, and they don't know why.
Right.
Don't know where we're going, what for. They're as lost as you can get. They don't know where the origins are. You say to an evolutionist, tell me what was in the beginning. They don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know. And we think you're arrogant to say you do know. Arrogant.
Yeah.
We do know that God created the heavens and the earth. He set everything into motion. I've been asking evolutionists and atheists, would you make me a rose? And they go like this. Yeah, well, you just need a seed. I say, hang on. That's God's seed. You can't use that. I want from nothing. Make me a rose. Make me a stem. Make me a seed that'll send tap roots into the soil looking for moisture. They haven't even got eyes.
Right.
The tap roots.
Do you see them? Do you see the expression on their face slowly change?
They do. They change. I say now the water's got to be sent up from the tap, uphill, up the stem, which you've created. There's got to be branches. There's got to be leaves. There's got to be photosynthesis take place. There's got to be a bloom that contains seeds, so the rose will bring forth after its own kind.
Yeah.
It's got to have a look and a color that's going to attract bees so they can pollinate, and it's got to have a fragrance that'll attract bees and make
Right.
your wife happy when you've had an argument. You know, and they die. I don't know how to do it. And they say, I
Right.
can't do it. So I said, do you think nature is intelligently designed? They say, no, I don't believe in intelligent design. So where does that leave you on the intelligent scale if you can't make a rose and you say that which is intelligent, you know, or that which made it isn't intelligent? It's
I
just
love
crazy.
it. Well, you know, like Romans 1 says, every man is without excuse. God has made his reality known through creation, but like the word says, they suppress the truth in unrighteousness. Professing to be wise, they've become fools. And that's what Scripture says. The fool has said in his heart, there is no God. And you know, the majority of evolutionists would be atheists. And those that aren't really are foolish because they're contesting the very word of God. They're claiming to believe in the existence of God and then denying the way he did it. So, you know, and Mark hit it right on the head. You know, it's the interpretation of the data that we have.
Right.
I mean, evolutionists look at a monkey and they'll look at a human being and say, look at the similarities, 99% similarities in their DNA or whatever. Again, it's like looking at a jumbo jet and at a Cessna and saying, well, look, they both have wings and they both fly. And how about the same creator, the
Right.
same designer?
Yeah.
You know, so it really is tragic. But my hope is that this trial will reverse the Scopes trial, possibly. Because really, in reality, what we had was someone who was very inept in terms of representing the creationist side in that trial. And since then, you know, the believing community has been paying for it.
And Hollywood put a spin on that whole thing. They made a movie called whatever it was called.
Right.
Can't remember what it was
That
called.
that was its name.
Yes, that
whatever
was
it's
it was called. And no, the movie wasn't made. It actually evolved from nothing, big explosion, and out it came.
course.
But yeah, it's just crazy. I'm not saying evolutionists and atheists aren't educated. We're saying they're foolish. You can be an educated fool.
Right.
You can have a lot of knowledge, but if it's misguided, it's very foolish, especially. You know what bugs me?
It's like a willful ignorance.
It is a willful ignorance, absolutely. What I find disconcerting is that of the many, many people I've interviewed in recent months, I've found that most who think they are believers in evolution are not believers in evolution. I say, okay, give me observable evidence. They say
Yeah.
dogs. There's little dogs and there's big dogs. That's I said, it's not. That's not evolution. They say, well, it's adaptation. Often they're confused between adaptation and Darwinian evolution. There's no change of kind. So what I keep finding is these young people who think they're believers in evolution and reject Genesis because of it aren't believers in
Right.
evolution. And when someone rejects Genesis, then the Bible's got no credibility, and they don't hold credibility to the
Yeah, it's
offer
like the
of
straw
everlasting
man
life.
argument. They're setting up this is what evolution is from our perspective,
Yes.
and then they're trying to knock that down. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, another contention that people have is that no one who is really intelligent would ever be a scientist, that there's a contradiction between science and Christianity and they're incompatible. So we have a video that we'd like to show you that hopefully will clear that up.
Many people assume that science did away with God long ago. They feel that those who persist in Christian belief must be somehow hanging on blindly to a relic of a less enlightened age. We asked some scientists at St Helens Bishopsgate whether they'd be willing to say on camera why they see no conflict between science and Christianity.
You often hear it said that science and Christianity is an either-or choice. Either you're a serious scientist or you're a serious Christian, but you can't be both. But I want to say there are just too many both and scientists.
I've now been a Christian for over 10 years, and the more I've read the Bible, the more convinced I am that it makes complete sense of the world that we see around us. Being a Christian, my science helps to explain the complexity of what we see in the world around us, and the Bible gives the answer to why in our lives.
One of the reasons that I'm a Christian and a scientist is that I don't see any discrepancy between being a scientist and being a Christian. Most people find it surprising that I would believe in a creator God. With all of the physical constants that you see in the world, as I dealt with as a chemist, it just didn't seem rational that this could all happen by chance.
While we don't have time to answer everything, we hope this will at least begin to answer some questions.
Oh,
But you know, that's a great point on there, Ray. And some of the most brilliant scientists in history were Christians. And you know, the movie Expelled actually lists a whole host of existing Christian scientists who basically have their jobs threatened because they don't believe that evolution is tenable. These are bona fide scientists. So that's
the
a hoax.
problem with intelligent design or creationism is it comes with what so many of see as baggage, because if you say, I believe the Bible, God created the heavens and the earth. Oh, I also believe Noah and the flood, Jonah and the whale, stuff that scientists laugh at, which we know to be true because God has chosen the foolish things to confound the world.
Yeah.
So it comes with this other stuff that no one wants to say, I'm a scientist, but I publicly believe that Samson had long hair and he was very strong.
Right.
And Joshua yelled out and the walls came down. They don't want to carry that publicly, which is understandable because it makes a mockery of them and their whole livelihood.
Right.
So no doubt they're quiet.
But
about
again,
it.
if we accept the fact that God created everything out of nothing, what can't he do?
Yeah.
It's always puzzled my mind. It's like they work in reverse. Well, look at these these couldn't have happened, creation couldn't have happened. That's ridiculous. If creation happened, everything is possible.
Absolutely.
And when you have a supernatural God. So
And
it's the presuppositions, like Mark said.
And once you understand the principle that God has chosen the foolish things to confound the wise. For instance, Jesus rode on the back of a donkey, which is absolute foolishness. I mean, if you wanted a president to come to your city and you say, oh, we're going to have a parade, we've got a donkey for you to sit on, president, he's not going to like it because that's incredibly humbling.
Right.
Jesus was born in a barn with cows, because God chooses lowly things and he does it to confound the wise. Those who want to enter the door of salvation have to bow very, very low and become as little children. And that's humbling for a proud heart, but that's the way of salvation.
I love it. There was a church actually in Jerusalem. I can't remember which one it was, but it had a very low door that was lowered purposely so that people are always bowing as they come in.
I went through that and bumped my head.
No, you went through it and had 10 feet above you, didn't you?
I was standing up when I bumped my head.
Oh, yes. Okay, friends. Ray, real quick, because we have a lot more to cover, do you want to touch on Manuel, our good friend?
Yes, do we have a picture? There it is.
There it is.
That's in Nice. Not nice. That's not nice. It's not pronounced nice. It's Nice. I'm sorry, Mark sneezed as I was speaking. But that's Manuel, my personal assistant. Now he's coughing in France, in Nice, preaching open air. I'm really proud of him. God bless him.
Manuel's a blessing. We met him when we did our Europe tour. And,
he gave us rooms in his hotel free of charge. That's how he got our attention.
We became buddies after that point. But what a blessing that was. And look at him now. He came out. I remember we have him on one of our episodes talking about the academies. And,
Hello.
And hey, we're back. But he was talking on there how he had never done it. And then he open air preached for the first time and he went back and he's been on fire ever since.
Yeah.
What a blessing. So.
Yeah, I wanted that picture kept up there if possible. There. It's just so neat to see him standing up there in a box and preaching. He did it the first time, as you said, at the Ambassadors Academy. And he went back and he's reproducing after his own kind. And his wife also, as I think she open air preaches. She does. We've seen her.
Absolutely
so that's great.
Wonderful. So, yeah, and you could check out Manuel on his website. Do you have it there, Ray?
Twitter at mbrambila.
Yeah. If you're out there in Europe and you want to join up with them, it'd be great. All right, on to one of our questions. The number of fossils in some areas is enormous. How could Earth have supported all those creatures at the same time? Ray?
Well, before there was a flood, there wasn't so much water. It sounds dumb to have to say that.
Duh.
But 70% of the Earth is covered with water. The world, science, evolutionists don't have a clue how the water got there. But we know it's there because there was a worldwide flood. And when it dissipated or evaporated, we're left with 70% of the Earth being covered with water. But before it was covered with water, it was just Earth. There was no water.
So plenty of room.
So there's plenty of room to handle all the animals. And besides, God's in control.
Yeah. And
he created everything. And I'm amazed Earth supports elephants. That's pretty
Right. All right, Mark, what do you say?
Well, first of all, I think that there has to be something in consideration here before you start making the claim that the Earth is not possible to carry all the dinosaurs. Ray mentioned a really good one, but let me throw something out there, something biblically speaking here. 2 Timothy chapter 3. It tells us that in the last days that there's going to be scoffers who are going to deny the flood, that are going to deny that God created the heavens and the earth. So just with that in mind, as you consider that, everything else that's going to follow from that is going to be faulty. So when your premise is faulty, your conclusion will always be faulty. So we have to remember that there will always be people that will discard that God created the heavens and the earth and that there was a flood. So based on that, you will always have people that will make statements just like this or other statements very similar to it, that there's no possible way. I'll give you another example. We see people say that, hey, the world is overpopulated.
Right.
We have too many people. We need to have people control. In fact, this is one of the arguments for the abortions, that we need to have more abortions because the world is becoming overpopulated. And I remember what Ray once said. Have you ever flown inside of a plane and you see field after field after field with nobody there? There's plenty of room for people. You know, and you can imagine with the water being recessed down to a place where you could roam the world in a way that we can't today, there's plenty of room for there to be dinosaurs and of the such. So
Right.
Let me
keep
call.
that in
I'm just going to walk across to Hawaii.
Well, you know, actually, this is astounding, but only 3% of the Earth's surface is habitable today. I mean, it's not all underwater, but when you consider, you know, deserts and mountains and things that are under ice and so forth, only 3% is habitable. But if you think of the pre-flood days, if let's say 70% of the Earth was habitable, there would have been plenty of room, you know,
Lakes,
for all of that.
beautiful lakes everywhere.
Right.
and-
So again, that's easily answerable, as we hope you have seen. All right, Mark Spence, tool of the day.
Yeah, the tool of the day, 101 last day prophecies. If you or somebody you know is very interested in prophecies, does the Bible have prophecies? It does, in fact. It's the only book that dares to step out on a limb and tell us things that will come to pass before they actually come to pass. And here are 101 of really good last day prophecies if you're interested in that little booklet. Same size, right around as the Save Yourself Some Pain booklet and Scientific Facts Inside the Bible booklet that Ray produced. We didn't produce this, but we carry it, and we don't carry a lot of material from other people's ministries, so therefore you can tell that it's very good because we carry it. LivingWaters.com.
Can I see that, Mark, please?
No, throw it from the other studio.
No, this came hundreds of miles right now. But this is kind of funny. See a temple. I see, you know, the basilica there, statue, people bowing down, and then it's a guy smoking marijuana. Just like funny. Anyways,
Who is that?
I don't know. Was that you, Mark?
No.
I'm glad I've never smoked marijuana.
Oh, boy. Moving right along. Okay, here's another question, folks. Do you want to share that?
Yeah,
Share it, Ray.
I
Come on.
can probably
Because
share.
if you
It's got a
don't-
lot to do with evolution. It really has.
all
I used
friends that
to
have
run
it.
a drug prevention center. I'd end up on a lot of drug panels, lots of drug talks. And I was with the drug squad, the police, myself, and a doctor on a panel. And I think about 600 or 800 people showed up in this hall. It was just packed. And afterwards, a woman came up with her 2 boys to meet the guy that written the book, My Friends Are Dying, Mr. Drug Prevention Expert. And what the police did, or the drug squad, is they lit a marijuana reefer, a cigarette, a joint, just so parents could smell what it was like. And they were passing it around the room so people could smell what marijuana was like. So while I was talking to this woman and those 2 little boys, someone passed me the joint, and I went and passed it on.
How long ago was this? Please qualify. Please qualify this.
Yeah, I was a Christian at the time. But it was just, I wasn't thinking. And I don't know how the woman handled it and the kids.
But you didn't inhale, right?
No, I didn't inhale.
Okay,
I just didn't know what I was doing. I
And
was
Ray,
supposed to smell.
what street was your drug prevention
On
center
High Street. It was an unfortunate choice of street names on
It really was,
High
right?
Street for the Drug Prevention Center. Absolutely.
Okay, so that's what happened. So none of you are curious, and we get letters. All right. Do you have any tips on how to share the gospel with evolutionists, as well as some good questions to ask them? Ray.
No. Yeah, it's great to ask, especially atheist evolutionists, what was in the beginning, and they usually say it was a big bang. You know, there's no sound in space, so it was the big... It really, to call it a big bang isn't scientific, but yeah, there's a big explosion, they say, and I say, is that where life came from? Yeah, so you're saying life came from non-life? There was, a big explosion of what? Rocks. The rocks spun through space. They're hot rocks. How could they have life on them? So it's scientifically impossible for life to come from non-life because of the complexity of life. And how did they and they haven't got a clue.
Right. And, you know, one of the things I often hear evolutionists say is, hey, that evolution...
Why do they talk like that?
That's how they talk. Evolution and the origin of the universe are 2 different things. Friends, are interrelated, okay? The bottom line is whatever evolved supposedly came from whatever originally exploded and then turned into this mass and then the rocks and then it rained on the rocks. So they're linked, and it's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. Mark.
Yeah, you know, I think that...
Oh, it's
He's
the
an
Arab
Arab.
in me, Mark.
He's
It's
Arab.
the
He's
Arab
an Arab
in
and
me.
he's talk like that. You know, don't spend too much time with evolutionists concerning questions where you can get inside of an apologetical sword fight. Not that you don't have answers, and not that Christianity isn't intelligent. Of course it is. The Bible is true. You want to jump right for their conscience. You got to remember to do that because they are willfully ignorant. You want to use what God has set up to bring the knowledge of sin, namely the Ten Commandments. So some of the questions that I would ask is, how many lies do you think you've told over the course of your life? How many things do you think you've stolen over the course of your life? Have you ever used God's name in vain? These are the sort of questions that I focus in on, that I hone in on when I'm talking to an evolutionist, a Mormon, a Jehovah's Witness, a Baptist, an Episcopalian, somebody who goes to church, your brother, your sister. It doesn't matter. They go across the way. So I want to use these questions because I know that the primary role of the Holy Spirit is to convict that person of sin, judgment, and righteousness. So don't get so caught up when you get inside of a conversation with an evolutionist that you have to ask evolutionary style questions.
Mark, I
Because
just
usually
thought
they
of one
won't come up.
question you can ask, and that is you ask, let's see how you're evolving morally.
Very good.
That's a good one. You know what? There are some questions though that you could ask if you so wish. Here's some good ones. And this is, you know, this is a which evolved first series of questions.
Excuse me.
What?
Could you say that sentence
This
again?
is a which evolved first series of questions. My tongue needs to evolve a bit today, friends. Okay. Which evolved first? The digestive system, the food to be digested, the appetite, the ability to find and eat the food, the digestive juices, or the body's resistance to its own digestive juices. Next, the drive to reproduce or the ability to reproduce. The lungs, the mucus lining to protect them, the throat, or the perfect mixture of gases to be breathed into the lungs. DNA or RNA to carry the DNA message to cell parts. The termite or the flagella in its intestines that actually digests the cellulose. The plants or the insects that live on and pollinate the plants. The bones, ligaments, tendons, blood supply, or muscles to move the bones. The nervous system, repair system, or hormone system. The immune system, or the need for it. So those are all things that have a symbiotic relationship, and they can't exist apart from each other.
How did you chew before teeth were involved? How did you
Right.
swallow before you had a throat? And
Absolutely.
How did you handle it when the epiglottis hadn't evolved? You know what
Right.
the epiglottis is?
Is it
It's a
an
little thing
island
that's- no,
where
it's-
Darwin went?
Epiglottis. The epiglottis cuts off your lungs when you want to swallow. They're little, I don't know what
Right.
it is, but without it, we'd just be
Absolutely.
dead.
Hyatol.
And
It's what?
even
It's a hyatol.
you know, and even the drive to reproduce within a system that is survival of the fittest, more mouths to feed, to care for, I mean, it's ridiculous. So anyhow, friends, yes, evolution is ridiculous. Check out some of the websites for some of our friends, answersingenesis.org, creationdaytoday.org, rforhm.com, and
JasonLyle.com.
youriginmatters.com. Thank you so much for joining us. God bless.
For questions about On the Box with Ray Comfort or to submit questions for future shows, please email onthebox@livingwaters.com. That's onthebox@livingwaters.com. On the Box with Ray Comfort is an outreach of Living Waters. For more resources to inspire and equip you to fulfill the Great Commission, check out livingwaters.com or call toll-free 1-800-437-1893. Now go and preach the gospel.